It's all yours.
Where do I go from here? Oh, Outlook. Mhm. Haven't gotten the code yet. Okay. Okay, so my topic today is going to be mental health awareness. And we're just going to start off with what exactly is mental health. It's going to be our emotional, psychological, and social well-being, and it affects how we think, how we act, and how we feel, and how we handle different situations and stresses of our life. Mental health is going to be important at every stage of your life, not just your childhood, not just adolescence, but all the way through adulthood and to the rest of your life. So some statistics about mental health. Mental illness affects 19% of the adult population, 46% of teenagers, and 13% of children each year. And nationally, the suicide rate increased to 25.4% from 1999 to 2016. In 2018, there were an estimated 1.4 million suicide attempts and more than 48,000 deaths by suicide. As of right now, it's the 10th leading cause of death in the United States in all stages of life. One statistic that I found really unfortunate but also interesting is that males have a suicide rate 3.7 times higher compared than like with females. And I think that's just because there's this stigma around that men are supposed to just bury their emotions and not talk about them, or it's weak for them to cry, or it's weak for them to ask for help. So there's different types of mental health illnesses, and these are just a few of them, just some that I feel like all of us are pretty familiar with. Depression, anxiety, ADHD, bipolar disorder, eating disorders like anorexia, bulimia, OCD, schizophrenia, and then there's PTSD, and then there's different subcategories into depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder. Those are just a few of like the main categories of them. So why does mental health awareness matter in the first place? Like, why am I up here talking about it? There is no physical health without a good like mental health. You can go through your day and being as physically healthy as you can, being as fit as you can, but if you don't have a healthy mind, you're just not going to be to your full potential. Mental health awareness also matters because we have to knock down the stigma around mental health, because it's seen not only just for men, but for all of us, that if you have a mental illness or you have like a deteriorating mental health, like it's a sign of weakness, which it's not. it needs to be talked about, and we need to do things to support each other instead of just not talking about it at all. We can't control mental illness or suicide, um, but we can control how we support and how we treat the people who do have it. And I'll go on to talk about how we can help others as well as ourselves. And then we all have battles to fight, whether we have a diagnosed mental illness or it's just a bad day. We all have little battles to fight, big battles to fight, but we're supposed to all be in it together, support each other, and be aware of our mental health and everyone else is around us. And I have this video that's called Let's Talk About Mental Health. So.
The other day, my friend confided in me. She said that she'd been feeling depressed, and worse than that, she'd been feeling incredibly alone in her situation. This struck a chord with me because not too long ago, I too was feeling depressed, and I too was feeling incredibly alone and somewhat ashamed about my feelings. So I started to ask a few friends about whether they'd ever experienced depression or any other symptoms related to mental health. Every single one of them said they had, and almost all of them had never spoken to me or anyone else about it. Mental illness is a thing. It exists. In fact, 1 in 4 people will experience a mental illness in their lifetime. So if you're not affected by it, then one of your friends and family are. And if you don't know anyone with a mental illness, it's probably because they haven't told you, and they haven't told you because there's a social stigma attached to mental health. From what I've seen, more often than not, people dealing with a mental illness find it harder to deal with the stigma than they do the mental illness itself. And that is crazy because the stigma is created by us. So a mental illness constitutes as anxiety, anorexia, depression, bipolar disorder, OCD, schizophrenia, post-traumatic stress, and borderline personality disorder. Ultimately, we need to find an effective medication and treatment to deal with these illnesses. And that is happening. Every year that passes, we become increasingly knowledgeable about mental illnesses. Depression, for example, is one of the best documented illnesses in the world. However, what we're not doing is talking about it. And until we do that, nothing's going to change. Now, the stigma surrounding mental health isn't surprising at all. A mental illness generally suggests that something is wrong with the brain. Our brain is our control center. It's responsible for everything we do. And the idea of something being wrong with the brain generally suggests that we're out of control. And as humans, we hate that idea. We hate it so much that we just don't talk about it. We sweep it under the rug and pretend that it's not there. But it is. Mental illnesses are a thing. They're real and they're very present. And we need to talk about it. A guy called Kevin Brew put it like this.
So basically, he just goes on to talk about how we need to take care of our mental health as much as our physical health. And it needs to be talked about because he goes on to talk about that when a person with a broken leg, you see them in a cast and you run up to them to go sign their cast, but you find out someone has a mental illness, and a lot of people run away from that because it's scary because we don't understand it. We can't see a physical x-ray. We can't see. It's hard to trust that someone has this or understand why they have this because we can't physically see it. Okay. So what can we do for others? Essentially, we just need to listen and be patient and spend time with them and make sure they're feeling welcomed and encouraged. Help them find support, whether it's just like group therapy or just one-on-one therapy, or help them find the right medication or the right doctor to go to. Remind them that you're there. Just be like constantly telling them, hey, I'm here for you. Things like that is just going to make a big difference for them. Encouragement and praise is a big thing. Tell them you're proud of them. Makes a big difference. Learn more about that. Learn more about how they feel, which goes into listen and be patient, because again, you're not going to like genuinely understand what they're going through because you aren't them and you're not feeling what they're feeling, but you can do as much as you can to learn about how they are feeling. But don't pressure them to talk about it. Again, the stigma around mental health is still a big issue, and they might still feel like, oh, I'm weak for talking about this. Don't pressure them to talk about it. Just let them know that you're there. Help them find distractions and hobbies and things that they enjoy. Overall, just be kind to everyone, because it could be the person you least expect to be going through the hardest battles. Essentially, just check on your friends. Just make sure everyone's doing okay. You need to check on your friends as much as you're taking care of yourself. Some symptoms to be aware of that you may be seeing in your friends or yourself. Obviously, there's feeling sad and there's feeling down. There's a lot of withdrawal from friends and activities. The things that you enjoyed, you sort of take yourself away from those things. Extreme mood changes, Major changes in eating habits. If you catch your friends or yourself just not eating the way you used to, like that could be a big sign. Um, Inability to cope with daily problems, significant tiredness, low energy, stuff like that. You'll just feel off, or sometimes you can see it. It's harder to see it in other people, so just you have to be aware. But essentially, let's talk about your mental health because you can't help anyone else unless you're feeling good about yourself. So the reasons why good mental health is good for us is so we can cope with stresses of our daily life in a good way. We can be physically healthy, like I said before. Like you can't be physically healthy without a good mental health. You can make meaningful contributions to your community, work productively, and you can realize your own full potential. And then on the right side, there's going to be some things that we can do to maintain a good mental health. And these are just a few of them. Keep a good routine every day. Surround yourself with genuine love and support. Make sure your friends are there for you. Give yourself a break every once in a while, especially if you're a student. Don't be afraid of talking about your emotions. Find help if you need it. Meditate. Writing in a journal. Just closing your eyes for a few seconds every day and just like telling yourself it's going to be okay. And taking care of your body physically. So like self-care days, do face masks, do whatever you need to do to feel physically okay, because it'll also help your mental health. So the reason why this topic is so important to me is because my sophomore year of high school, my best friend from my hometown, this is Katie, her mom committed suicide. And that was sort of my first like look into what mental illness can do to a community. And this story isn't meant to be sad or bring you down because it actually brought a lot of light to our community. And like we all still check, like it's been years, but we still check on each other. We still make sure everyone's okay. Um, and now Katie is a huge mental health advocate. She goes to Georgia Southern and started an organization at Georgia Southern for mental health awareness. But it just goes to show that it really could be anyone because she was a woman in our community that brought everyone together. Super supportive. She was open house all the time. Anyone who needed it, she was there. But it just goes to show that it really could be anyone. So you need to be aware. Just check on your friends. Do what you need to do to make sure everyone's okay, as well as yourself. And then my last slide just talks about the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. The numbers at the bottom, and there's also a website you can go to. This hotline has saved hundreds of thousands of lives. You just pick up the phone and you're talking to a representative and a real person about like if you need help, which I think made a huge difference in the community and the world. But just basically check on your friends and make sure you're okay because mental health awareness matters. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah.
my topic is how schools affect the students' mental and physical health. So physically, I know everybody here has heard of like the freshman 15. Students usually gain a lot of weight or usually lose a lot of weight because of stress eating. I know I eat a lot when I'm stressed. Like the night before I test, I'll usually start eating all the snacks in my room, and like I'll usually don't eat in the cafe because, it's kind of gross. So I'll go out and eat something else like fast food. And a lot of students don't sleep or they sleep too much because of stress. And the long hours of school usually lead to being fatigued. Mentally, uh, stress and anxiety are the biggest things because a lot of professors tend to give us too much work and pile us up with work and want us to complete those assignments in a little bit of time. I have GAD. Someone was talking about it last week. Yeah. So yeah, depression as well. So, and here's a short video. It has no words to it, but it kind of explains a little bit about mental health. And basically, so before this, it's just a student who's going to school every day, getting good grades, but at some point, everything just falls for him. And then basically after that, he ends up getting some help, and he was diagnosed with anxiety. And I really like this video because it's kind of similar to what happened to me sophomore year. Because sophomore year, it got to the point where I didn't see myself graduating either in a couple of years. And before sophomore year, I was a student that always got straight A's, was always on time for my classes. And I even played soccer for my school. And then one point in sophomore year, during sophomore year, all of that stopped, and I just wanted to give up. And my parents had always put pressure on me, especially since I'm the oldest child. So they were always like, oh, your little siblings are looking up to you. And last Friday, someone talked about how their parents didn't listen to them either. And my parents did the same thing with me. And so then I ended up not going to school for a whole 2 months because I just didn't want to be there. My grades started dropping. I gained a lot of weight. And then since I was on the soccer team, my coach called me to the side and was like, what's wrong? Like, you haven't been acting the same. And I basically explained to him what happened to me, like what was going on, because aside from that, I had some issues going on with my family. So everything was just very overwhelming for me. And then he told me to go back home and talk to my parents and tell them that I actually needed help. And that's what I did. And so I started seeing a therapist for that. And now I'm on medication and stuff. And it's really good to talk to somebody. What else? But yeah, then after that, he made me do stadiums because my grades were dropping. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. So if you guys have any questions, that's it.
All right, thank you for sharing.
Okay, so I did my presentation on the effects of fast food in America. So first, I'm gonna just start off with how many fast food restaurants there are just around the U.S. There's 50,000 fast food chains located across the U.S. and there's 191,511 fast food restaurants, like within those chains located in the US. More than a quarter of all Americans will eat like fast food each day, because it's like just become like a major part of people's diets, really. And like before, it really wasn't like that. People would spend most of their time like cooking at home. But now Americans are spending more of these, or spending more of their money on like foods than they do to like pay for school or get like new cars. Like just the amount that people spend on these fast food restaurants is more combined. And then a generation ago, more than 3/4 of the money spent on food was spent on ingredients to cook at home. So just people prefer to eat out now because it's just faster and more convenient for them to get than it is for them to buy groceries and cook at home. The fast food industry is the largest employer of minimum wage workers in the country, but that with like farmers being the lowest paid. Um, Fast food itself has changed over the years. The cost has increased. It like things you basically everything used to be a lot cheaper, honestly. The calories have increased, as you can see in the picture. 20 years ago, like a fast food burger was only 333 calories, and now they're worth 590 calories, and a pizza was 500 calories. Now it's 850 calories. Just everything, the size of them has also increased. The amount of things that they put in each burger just adds calories. Um, McDonald's was known to like be a main part of this when they brought Super Size Me. But it like the reason of them like getting rid of it is said because like obesity was getting like really brought into the world, but they deny like that's the reason that they took away the Super Size Me, but no one's like really confirmed. And then so yeah, today's small, medium, and large was like then's medium, large, and extra large. So that's just like showing how much the sizes of everything has changed. And then this is just something to show like how if you have like no car and you have no like grocery store within a mile of you, how it like correlates to um, like other things with your health. So like the parts that are like red obviously are the parts that are like lacking the stores and the cars more. And like you can see that the obesity and diabetes are also like located around those same areas. So it's just like trying to show that it could be a like big factor of obesity. And then I have two little videos to show. You won't let me scroll down.
It's on YouTube.
Um, I like well when I clicked on this on my laptop, it would take me to the YouTube, but it's not even like letting me move this website.
So it's not a commercial now, maybe come right into the commercial. That it,
Yeah, but there's also sound to it. But I mean, I think everything's also just
is that it?
yes. So that video is just showing like, although potatoes are like healthy for you, like French fries, which are like fried potatoes and hash browns and things like that, aren't, and it's like said to like associate more of a risk of death. Not really sure why, but I guess it's because all the like ingredients used to fry things. Oh, this thing. Well, I think I deleted my other video. Okay, well, the other video is gone, but I'll just talk about it. So the other video was explaining just how much like fast food restaurants there have been, and like how much it's mainly talking about McDonald's, because McDonald's is said to be the main like contribution of all these new health problems that are being brought into the world because of like fast food industries. And like I said before, people just stop. I mean, people still go to the grocery store, but not as much as they used to. People preferred a lot more to cook at home than they do now. But now with like everyone being like so like I guess they feel like there's not enough time. They want to stop at a fast food restaurant and just get something quick. Especially college students are said to get fast food a lot more than like other people. Um, and that was really just some of like the main points that were really said in the video. And that's all.
YouTube? Did you go to YouTube and
Yeah, if I look it up, I could probably find it.
do it?
Um, I think it was this one.
See a lot of studies that try to count how many calories people eat, talk about the obesity problem. This is a study that gives us an idea of what proportion of the calories we're eating from fast food. Fast food is generally considered a bad thing. It's identified contributors to obesity. So this study tells us that about 11% of the calories that the average American adult consumes come from fast food. The good news is that that's down a little bit from when a similar study was done several years ago, it was around 13%. Some other interesting things in the study are that there was not a difference by income. Some people assume that more wealthy people might eat salads and finer foods a little bit more often than low income people, but that didn't turn out to be the case. What else did the study find? Among racial and ethnic groups, Black people consume a much higher proportion of their calories from fast food than Hispanics or whites. By age group, young adults ages 20 to 39 consume much more of their calories from fast food than people 65 and older.
Oh, so yeah, when he just said like the association of like income and how like people get fast food based on what they make now. There's a new study because well, you can tell that's an older study because of how outdated the quality of that video looked. The new research states that like higher income families will spend more on money on fast food because they have more money to spend than lower income families. And I guess lower income families would prefer to eat at home since they could potentially save some money that way. That's all.
Thank you. I want to thank today's presenters. Let's give them another round of applause. On Friday, we will hear from Jenna, and we will hear from Lauren. And we will review chapter 16. Go ahead and read chapter 16. By Wednesday, send me the name of the charity so that I can prove it, and then go ahead and begin working on that particular speech. Have a good day, everyone. See what the Alzheimer's topic? Okay. Okay. So good one. Okay, yeah. Right, the last speech was very good.
Thank you.
I'll get those things posted this week.
Yeah, okay, so it says I submitted my
Outline?
outline, but when I re-looked at it just now, because I wanted to double check just in case,